welcome to IMA's Faculty Friday webinar series. The title of today's presentation is Enhancing Your Classroom with the FMAA certification, Faculty Insights and Strategies, which is sponsored by GLIME. I wanted to cover a couple reminders before we get started. Please, at any time, we want you to use the chat function to ask any questions that might come up. We will save time at the end of the presentation to go over all of your questions. I would also ask that you put the questions to everybody. I have someone monitoring the questions on the back end. If you put them directly to me, I don't always see them. We will save time at the end, like I said, to go over the questions. And this webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all those who have registered. If you feel other colleagues, friends, other professors that you're connected with should hear this messaging, by all means, when you receive the link, you can send it out to anyone else that you would like to have this recording. I'm Mary Patterson, and I will be your moderator and host for today's Faculty Friday webinar. I think most of you have my contact information, but if not, my email is mary.patterson@imanet.org. I am available to help you with any resources or questions that you have about anything related to IMA and especially the FMAA certification. Before we begin, I would like to thank our sponsor, GLIME FMAA Review, for their support with today's webinar. GLIME FMAA Review has everything your students need to pass the FMAA exam and start their careers strong. GLIME's FMAA professor-led platform is designed to support professors in their classrooms with homework and quiz building tools, gradebooks syncing to popular learning management systems, and special academic pricing. Over the last 50 years, GLIME has helped millions of accountants pass their CPA, CMA, CIA, EA, and now also the FMAA exams. And their review materials are trusted by thousands of professors at top universities worldwide. So I definitely want to thank GLIME for being a sponsor of this webinar. And Alex, raise your hand, just give everyone a wave. She'll be talking towards the end, giving you a little bit more insight about the GLIME review materials and a little demo so everyone can see that. So here's a quick overview of what I'll be presenting today. So we'll do an introduction to IMA and the FMAA certification. We will also be having a faculty panel discussion. I'm excited for you to hear from the professors on our panel. Each will talk about their experience with the FMAA, either by taking the exam or exposing the certification to their students, or they have participated in IMA's faculty cohort this past September, where 10 faculty members sat for the FMAA certification. I think each of our panelists will give you unique insight into how they see the FMAA working for their students and their institutions. And like I said, we will save time for questions at the end, and GLIME will also do a demo of their product. So let's start by talking about what actually is IMA. Hopefully, I think most of you know who the IMA is, but I don't know why this keeps doing this. IMA is a global association with more than 140,000 members who are accounting and finance professionals working in business. Our organization has more than 300 professional and student chapters located in cities and campuses around the world. By joining IMA, students and professionals have the opportunity to not only network with accounting and financial professionals in their local area, but it also opens the door to network with professionals all over the world. I would like to highlight last week, we hosted IMA's Student Leadership Conference in Anaheim, California, where we had over 20 states represented and close to 300 students that were in attendance. This week, I was speaking a little bit earlier that I have been receiving thank you emails from students about how much they love the experience of going to the conference, and also professors who just have thanked us for what we did with that conference and exposing their students to management accounting. I've even been seeing a lot of posts on LinkedIn And it's events like the Student Leadership Conference that solidify IMA's commitment to students and also the faculty that inspire them in the future of the accounting pipeline. So for those of you, I wanted to put this plug in here. If you want to get your students more involved with IMA and perhaps go to a student leadership conference, it is going to be next year in Cleveland, Ohio, in November, right around that Veterans Day weekend is usually when it is. In addition, IMA offers resources for accounting and finance educators through our free CPE courses for academic members, as well as resources to help supplement your curriculum in the classroom. IMA now has 3 globally recognized certifications. With the addition of the FMAA certification alongside the CMA and CSCA, IMA is reinforcing its position as the foremost association for professionals working in accounting and finance roles in industry. The FMAA certification was announced about 1 year ago this month, and our first testing window for the certification was in March 2024. The FMAA has already been taken in over 40 countries worldwide. As you can see, the FMAA was designed to be a foundational certification for accounting and finance, and it is the starting point as a person progresses through their career. So on this slide, I have the FMAA, CMA, and CSCA. And it really just kind of shows as you progress through your career, what we hope is that students or even young professionals are going to sit for the FMAA. On this slide, you'll find a detailed breakdown of our certifications along with their respective target audiences. The FMAA is a foundational certification. Those who would be taking the certification would be students looking to showcase a fundamental knowledge or business professionals who need a stronger understanding of accounting and finance topics. For students, it is geared towards those that are earlier in their academic career, looking to gain confidence and knowledge in the fundamentals of accounting and finance. So it is great for those at a 2-year college or even freshmen and sophomores at a 4-year college. With the FMAA certification, students do not need to be accounting majors. This certification is also ideal for all business majors once you've taken your basic accounting courses. And then, of course, we have the CMA, which is Certified Management Accountant, and it is geared towards students and graduates of 4-year colleges and universities who are accounting and finance majors, early and mid-level accounting and finance professionals, and then CPAs who are looking to make a career change from audit to industry positions. And then lastly, we have the CSCA, which stands for Certified in Strategy and Competitive Analysis. And it is intended for credentialed accounting and finance professionals who are seeking a specialized skill set in strategy and competitive analysis. A couple things to note about the CSCA. You must hold a CMA, CPA, or other recognized professional credential in order to pursue the CSCA. And now the FMAA is also recognized with that. So hopefully this gives you a better idea of all of IMA's certifications and how the FMAA fits in with the other 2 established certifications. Let's dive a little bit more deeper into who the FMAA exam is for. So the FMAA, which is Financial Management and Accounting Associate, is a foundational certification in financial and managerial accounting. So it is relevant to several different groups of individuals, both students and professionals. Listed on this slide, we have a few examples. First, we have a student at a 2-year college. The FMAA is ideal for a student at a 2-year college who has started their business education and has completed some introductory level courses in accounting. Earning the FMAA can provide the student a way to differentiate themselves by showcasing that they have foundational knowledge of accounting and finance topics. Some students at 2-year colleges may also be non-traditional students who are already working in accounting or business. and they are taking classes to get their associate degree. Again, by obtaining the FMAA certification, students at all stages of their lives can demonstrate that they have foundational knowledge in accounting and finance. Next, we have the four-year college student. These are students that are pursuing an accounting or finance bachelor's degree. Now, we encourage these students to consider the CMA in the future or once they've taken some upper level division courses in accounting and finance. But the FMAA could be a great way for them to demonstrate their fundamental knowledge of accounting early in their educational careers. By earning the FMAA early in their educational journey, they will differentiate themselves in a competitive hiring market. For example, if they're interviewing for an internship position, they will gain confidence in accounting and finance skills, and they will prepare themselves for success on the CMA exam in the future. We expect that students who earn the FMAA early in their degree programs will be motivated to earn more advanced professional certifications like the CMA. In addition, the FMAA could possibly help to attract some early business students to choose accounting as their major. So again, talking to those business students that might not think they have a special skill set for accounting or finance, but then once they take the FMAA, they realize, wow, I do like this information. I understand it. Maybe accounting is the place for me to be. So ideally, we're hoping to attract more people into that accounting pipeline. And then next we had the MBA student. Now this was something we didn't expect, but by talking with a lot of professors and faculty within MBA programs, we found that sometimes MBA programs attract students from a variety of educational backgrounds, including many students who have never taken an accounting class before. MBA students could have undergraduate degrees in history, English, engineering, biology, and these students need to have a strong understanding of accounting and finance, not only to succeed in the MBA program, but also to be successful future business leaders. A lot of faculty that we talked to said that they struggle to find resources to help get those students in their MBA programs up to speed. And when they looked at what's included on the FMAA certification, they thought this is a perfect way to get them exposed to those accounting and finance courses that they didn't have. And then it also helps to boost the confidence of those students in their MBA programs so they're on the same level of students who have taken accounting and finance courses. And then lastly, we also have business professionals. So there are many professionals who are not working in it, not necessarily working in accounting and finance, but need to have foundational knowledge of accounting and finance topics. So for example, that could be a manager that's in supply chain, HR, IT, or engineering who needs to review a budget each month. It could also be someone who interacts with the accounting and finance team at their company or a client's company on a regular basis. Since accounting is the language of business and there are terms and concepts that are essential for all business leaders to know, this certification helps to teach the foundational knowledge, but also gives professionals the confidence they need to be effective business leaders. So now that I've talked about that, what actually is the FMAA certification? The FMAA certification, or Financial and Managerial Accounting Associate, it is a little bit of a mouthful, but this certification instills the fundamental knowledge and competencies in accounting and finance, allowing students and professionals to showcase their expertise to employers and build a foundation to expand their skills. This certification was developed to address market needs. We get that question a lot. How did you come up with this certification? It really did come from input from the market. And the FMAA certification was developed with 5 key content domains. So I'll go over the 5 domains. The first one is general accounting and financial management. What this covers is accounting terminology, debits, credits, T accounts, adjusting entries, statement of cash flows, cash management, and inventory management. So a lot of what is covered in your early accounting courses. The next topic that is covered is financial statement preparation and analysis. So this is dealing with asset and liability valuation, basic financial statement analysis, and profitability ratios. We also have planning and budgeting, which we know as management accountants, that's a huge part of what you'll be doing. So budgeting concepts and methodologies. There is cost management and performance metrics. So cost measurement concepts of variable and fixed overhead expenses and performance management. And since we are all accountants and finance people, there's also coverage of professional ethics. So what is the benefit of earning the FMAA for your students or you as a faculty member? Mostly for students, it is for them to gain confidence. We all know that accounting is a great place to be, but at different times for students, they start to self-doubt, or maybe they struggled with an intermediate accounting class or an advanced managerial class. By passing the FMAA, that starts to build up their confidence that yes, they can be a great accounting student and an accounting professional. It's a way for them to demonstrate their skill set. Students want to try to stand out and show that they are marketable to the industry. It helps them advance their career and, like I said, also stand out. One thing that I think is great about the FMAA, let me go to the next slide actually. I'll give you the details about the certification. So the exam in itself is a 2-hour exam with 80 multiple choice questions. The eligibility requirements for you or your students, there are none. So difference between the CMA or CPA, they do not have to have their bachelor's degree to sit for this exam. So like we said, this is ideal for someone that maybe is at a community college and has 2 years of business or accounting classes, or it's also good for your freshmen or sophomores that are in those 4-year institutions. The exam preparation time we say is approximately 50 hours. Now that will depend on the student, the classes that they have taken, the areas that they feel more confident in. But roughly that is the amount of time that we estimate. The exam cost is $299, and the exam is administered right now at Prometric testing centers. So what I was going to say before is one of the things about building confidence, we want our students to become CMAs. But a lot of times that CMA is a big goal for a lot of students to have. The FMAA, since it's one exam, 2 hours long, 80 multiple choice questions, and they still have to go through that Prometric testing process, that really gets them used to having those type of exams. And it really will kind of remove some of those barriers of anxiety when they go into these larger tests. So that's where I really think the FMA certification and the fact that it is at a Prometric testing center in the end is a benefit to your students. The exam availability, we have testing windows in January of 2025, May, and September. We are hoping after that September testing window that it will be available continuously. So more to come on that, but as you talk to your students, January, May, and September are going to be the testing windows. You do need to have 15 hours of CPE education, 1 hour of ethics related courses, and the renewal fees for the certification are $49. So again, just quickly going through the FAQs, are there prerequisites to sit for the FMAA? No. So this is open to everyone. You also do not have to be a member of IMA to sit for the FMAA certification. So it is truly open to anyone. What is the format? Oops, this is one of those days. The exam is 2 hours long with 80 multiple choice questions. Can I take the exam remotely? No. Candidates will need to go to a local Prometric test center to sit for the exam. When can they take it? January, May, and September. And how much does the exam cost? $299. One thing that I also want to let you know before we get into our panel discussion, we do have scholarships that are available for your students. I also want to highlight the fact that GLIME in the US will provide your students with the study materials. So every institution can at least nominate 3 students, and we give you the option of choosing to do it for the CMA or the FMAA. That has to be chosen when you nominate your students. That will cover their entrance fee to the FMAA. We will also give them IMA membership with that. We do ask that anyone that has been given a scholarship that they try to complete it within 12 months. But all you have to do is you as faculty members, you nominate your students for this scholarship. Once we receive the scholarship nomination, we process it, we set them up with GLIME, and they are ready to sit for their certifications. One thing to note, if you are nominating a student for the FMAA, it is required that the student has to pick what testing window, and they cannot change that or they will have to pay a fee. So as you're talking with your students, make note of the testing windows, and then make sure you put that on the nomination form. All right, I think I've talked enough, and now we're going to go to what we really want to hear, our faculty panel. So today what we have, I would like to introduce you to Ellen, Joshua, and Dawn, who have participated in our September faculty cohort to take the FMAA. We also have Amy Ford, who took the certification, I believe, in the first testing window that was available, and she might not say this, but I will say this for her. She received a perfect score on the exam. And then we also have Emma Cole, who has started to introduce the FMAA to her students. And I think this panel will give us a valuable perspective of the FMAA. So let's get started. Hello, faculty. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Please introduce yourself and let our audience know what initially drew you or your interest to the FMAA certification and how you think it aligns with your teaching goals. So for this, since Ellen, you're first on my PowerPoint, I'll let you start.
Okay, hi, I'm Ellen Bartley. I teach at Farmingdale State College, and we're in an unusual position where we don't have an accounting major. But we do have a small group of students every year who are interested in accounting, who go on to then take a master's at one of the other SUNY schools nearby. So when I first heard about the FMAA, I thought it would be a really good opportunity for our students who are planning to do accounting internships to maybe do this after they've had intermediate one. Our principles courses are really geared for all non-majors. And so I think once they've had intermediate one and gone a little bit more in depth, they kind of have a better idea of where they're headed career-wise. And I would love to see them get the certification and then apply for internships, because being we don't have an accounting major, we're not always on the radar screen for the good accounting internships. And I feel like this would really enhance our students' profile with the accounting firms.
Great, thank you, Ellen. I will move to Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Ford. I'm an instructor at Western Illinois University. And what drew me to the FMAA is that I teach a lot of principles. So I teach cost, intermediate managerial, and advanced managerial, but I also teach a lot of principles. And so what that means is by the time I am seeing the juniors and seniors, and we have been nominating students and they've been sitting for the CMA exam, I definitely felt that I'm overwhelmed. The CMA seems really hard. I don't know if I can do it. And so what drew me to FMAA, and I sat so that I could go through the experience for my students, it was that stepping stone, that gaining the confidence. I also teach an MBA course, and I really wanted to incorporate it into the MBA program as well. So I really took this value of gaining confidence, what is certification, and so kind of like making it a stepping stone to CMA CPA. So that's what interested me.
Great, thank you, Amy. Josh, I'll move over to you.
Thank you. My name is Josh Anderson. I teach accounting courses at St. Xavier University, which is a small Catholic school just outside of Chicago. It's also a Hispanic serving institution. And so we get a lot of students who end up, I think, we were talking about having some trepidation about taking the exam and finding a way to go through the experience of what it will be like eventually to try and earn their CPA will be super useful for all of them. So
Great.
that's why I'm here.
Great. Emma, how about you? What started you to introduce the FMAA and talk about it with your students?
Alex. That's the short answer. No, really, Alex did tell me about it. And I'm teaching the MBA class. And one of the things that I noticed when I was teaching the MBA class is a lot of them did not have a business background. So I needed something that I could teach in my MBA class that would adequately give them the information they needed to be able to use accounting for decision making without overwhelming them with a lot of technical things that they wouldn't need as decision makers. So the FMAA gave me an affordable way to offer that fundamental knowledge to this wide variety of students who are really coming back to school to become better decision makers and want the MBA to be able to demonstrate their competencies to their employers. So that FMAA complemented that. And so this is my first semester integrating that into my MBA program. I'm also interested, next year, we are the only state liberal arts college in Alabama, and the only public liberal arts college. And so we have a lot of fine arts majors who get accounting minors to be able to look at the business side of theater or music or whatever. And so this gives them a good way to really think about how they will be able to use fundamental accounting knowledge in their roles in fine arts. So that's what drew me to this.
Wow. Yeah, and that it's like you said, we did not, when we were talking about the FMAA and how it was going to fit in, I remember we didn't even have MBA students on our radar. And it wasn't until we started talking to a few faculty members that teach MBA, and they said, you don't understand. We need something like this because we don't know how to get those students that have come into the program from maybe a literature, like you said, a theater degree, but they need to have that business mindset. They said, this is the answer to what we've been looking for. So that's been really exciting to start to get that messaging out to the other faculty. And then I'm not sure, Dawn, are you on or are you with your grandchild? I don't think she is. All right.
I am on, but I'm in the car since I had to pick my granddaughter up. But I just wanted to say that many of the reasons that I was excited about the FMA, everybody's already talked about, but I am from Longwood University, which is a small liberal arts public university in Virginia. We have accounting concentrations, and I think that it's going to be very beneficial for the younger students, like you said, building their confidence, and also helping making them more marketable. A lot of them don't graduate with 150 credit hours, so I've really been pushing or making sure they're aware of the CMA, and so I think that this is a great stepping block to the CMA. Sorry.
Great, thank you. So a question I wanted to have, and especially because you're faculty members and professors, I think you're better at answering this than when I get this question. But with the FMAA certification, and especially for those of you that have taken the FMAA, how has it aligned with and I know everyone has a different accounting department, different curriculums. How did it align with that? And then did you notice if there were any holes or areas that you thought, wow, we need to really be teaching a certain section more to get our students prepared for the FMAA? So I think, Amy, I'll start with you to lead us off.
Thanks, Mary. So I teach principles of financial accounting and principles of managerial accounting at Western Illinois, and they are each 3 credit hour courses. And I thought that the material aligned very well with what I do in principles. I use 2 textbooks that are very well known. I mean, a lot of people use these principles textbooks, and I can say that the learning objectives align really well. What I think would be a hindrance is I do a lot of homework with the students where they're actually preparing journal entries and they're preparing financial statements and they're doing analysis. And, you can all picture the little homeworks where, the boxes to put numbers in and check my work. I don't do it as much multiple choice practice as maybe I would need to. I mean, I do a lot of terminology, multiple choice questions, but I was thinking about maybe my students wouldn't be prepared with practicing enough. So that's where when Alex goes through with the GLIME materials, that would be a good supplement because it's a multiple choice exam. And so I do a lot more homework type assignments or cases and making sure that aligns with just being a good test taker, understanding there's 4 choices, eliminating the obvious wrong choice, things like that. So that was the first takeaway I had. The other would be financial statement analysis. That is definitely the area because my principles courses are 3 credit hours each. And while in financial accounting, we talk about the financial statements a lot. I often joke, I'm from Illinois. And so if we have a snow day, which do we often have a snow day? Anyone from Illinois? It's at the end of the semester and that's when it gets cut because it's a snow day. Or if I have a closure, I feel like financial statement analysis, we can do a little bit along the way, but I feel like it's just the end of the material. And so it's the first thing to get let go if you're behind. And let's face it, when you have to take more time because nobody understood LIFO versus FIFO, and you got to take another day to go back over it. And LIFO and FIFO are on FMAA, so that's important to know. Things that you're teaching and spending time on, depreciation methods, it's all on the FMAA. But for me, when I'm counseling my students, as Ellen said, I would say intermediate 1 is a great time to think about FMAA because principles, I don't know, it's like stepping up to the big leagues. You get a little bit more review, especially of the financial accounting, and then ratio analysis. So in intermediate, if you get more exposure to the ratios, any faculty that are thinking about sitting, here's my tip for faculty. Have you ever had to memorize all the ratios? Like some of the ratios we just know because we teach them, but I will admit the night before my test, I was like, wait a second, how many of them are there? Do I know all of them? And I had to grab my GLIME materials and just kind of flip through because I had that moment of, do I cover all of them in my classes? Because we had a snow day last year, so I didn't cover it in my classes. But that gives you the idea of, maybe I assigned a homework assignment, but we didn't spend a whole week talking about it. And so that would be my takeaway, that I think I need to do more. I need to do better, but that's just going to make me a better teacher, talking about ratios more as we cover the content instead of just like throwing it at the end of the semester.
Great, thanks, Amy. Josh, do you have anything to add since I think you're our other Illinois representative?
Yes, now I would echo a lot of what Amy said, right? It's its content on the exam is very much what we would teach in introductory managerial and financial accounting courses. In fact, I was thinking one of the ways that I might use some of the GLIME material would be to help identify students at the beginning of intermediate 1 who maybe are not as well prepared, and make sure that they have extra resources to be able to successfully complete that course. I also will underline not doing enough financial statement analysis. Like that's an aspirational piece of what I have in my syllabus every semester. And it seems to be a way in which, all right, as accounting faculty, we can draw people in who may not have thought about doing accounting, or if you have some people in finance, they get really excited about those topics. So yes, +1 on more financial statement analysis.
Great. Ellen, do you have anything to add to this?
I'm going to reinforce that. I cover financial statement analysis by way of a project, so I never test on it. And I know for me too, I'm really thankful to GLIME for the support material, because had I gone in cold, I probably would have done terribly on it. And I'm embarrassed to admit that because I just didn't have you know, some of the common ratios, of course, were at my fingertips, but some of them, I was like, oh, I have to really think about that one. And so having gone through the material was really helpful. And, you know, again, I think intermediate for at least for my school would be a good place to do that because they have a little bit more exposure to that.
Great. I do have to laugh when we were putting together the cohort in September and I was talking to faculty about taking the exam. The number one thing that faculty would say to me, besides time, what if I don't pass? Like they were all so nervous that this is something that they speak to their students all the time, that they're teaching day in and day out. And they thought, oh, now I have to sit for, I have to learn how to do this. But that being said, and especially for those that have taken it, and Emma, I'm going to definitely get you to take this certification. Do you think as faculty members and as professors, did it help you to go through this exam to be able to talk to your students about it? Like, did it kind of make, what is this certification? What's it testing them on? Did this help you understand more what it is and how it could benefit your students? And what would you say to students when you're going to hopefully encourage them to sit for it? Anyone can start.
I just spoke to my class about it this week. I have to admit, I wouldn't talk to them until I saw the scores because if they asked or if I didn't do well, I would have been a little embarrassed. But I encourage them to do it and kind of for all the reasons we're saying that it is a great selling point. And I think what I'm going to really emphasize to them after listening to everyone today is that midway point, that this is a great gateway for the CMA and the CPA exam because for me, when I took the CMA exam, it was on paper, it wasn't at a testing center. And, that was just a different dynamic. And so to have gone through that once before, I think would really help them in the long run for that. So I want to talk to my dean to see about funding and, start next year with the 3 scholarships at a minimum to see if we can get students starting to go down this route.
Yeah. And just so you know, if you've even identified 1 or 2 students now that might be good for the May testing window, maybe they need to go through a couple more courses, you can nominate them this year. So don't be afraid to do that. We definitely want to get more students exposed to this because then word of mouth starts to travel about how good this certification is. Anyone else have any insight or how they're going to talk to their students about the FMAA?
Well, I will say that too. I said the same thing. I'm like, I'll take it, but I'm not going to tell anybody. And I did it very last minute. So any faculty who are concerned, I literally registered about 3 days. Like I just decided to do it and it was 3 days and I took it. So just reviewing the ratios was the main thing I needed to do. But I work with exam prep a lot with Glyme. That helped. So I was ready because of that. I think it gives you like street cred. I don't know how to say it to students. You're innovative. This was new. I mean, how many of us will be able to say, I know I'm going to sound really old someday, but when the FMAA first came around, I took it back in 2024. I mean, just being able to say that is pretty awesome. And, thinking about long careers in accounting, but I think it does give students the confidence. And what I will do is if you're going over exam 1 or whatever exam you're going over, and someone's, excited about their score or disappointed with their score, but you can talk about like, oh, this would be a great FMAA question. And you guys, 85% of you got it right. So if you use the Glyme material, it's very like they see the correlation, but I'll even do it when I'm going over a test. I mean, they don't know the source of the test, but if you're using using multiple choice questions on the test, you could say, well, these are similar to what you could see on the FMAA. So I think talking about it, I tend to sprinkle it in with when I talk about FMAA and CMA in my classes, I try to talk about it specifically at the beginning of the semester, but then I think sprinkling it in and kind of that constant reminder or if you need more practice on something, if you're supplementing with Glyme, then you could, assign extra practice problems or extra practice sets. Or, hey, this was the problem we did together in class, but you could go do this one on your own. And remember, it's not that we're teaching to the test, it's that this exam so well correlates with what we would consider foundational knowledge. So those are my 2 cents.
One thing that I wanted to say, and you brought it up, but this has been a question about the FMAA because it's not known. And because again, it just started in March of 2024. So I even think when you're talking to a student and they say, well, why should I take it? Like, will the person that I'm interviewing with to get this internship, will they know what it is? I said, you know what? They might not. But what a great way to talk about why you decided to do this. What a great way to explain to them, this is what this certification is. This is why I decided to take it, to differentiate myself from my peers. Like, this gives, I know students, and I know you all work with them, they get nervous and they don't really know what to talk about in an interview. What a great way to show, hey, I did this certification. This is why, this is what it tested me on. And this is why I want to work for your company because X, Y, and Z. So I think by doing this, it's going to open up a lot of doors for students and especially gain their confidence. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Again, you're speaking to your peers right now, so. Come on, Josh or Emma, you want to say something? We will. So one other thing that I guess I would suggest is, what would you say to faculty, and this has kind of been touched on, or what would you say to students to help prepare them for the FMAA? Like, what expectations would you say to them, or what would be your parting words about the FMAA? Josh, I will start with you with this one.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I would, remind them that they do know this material, right? It's from our introductory classes, especially if they're later in the program. Like, they can do this. It will help give them that experience of walking into Prometric and taking the exam and finding out that your calculator hadn't been approved, and so they confiscate your calculator or whatever. Like, there, all of those weird little things that might happen. So that way, when you go in for a really high stakes exam, right, you're used to how everything's going to go down. But I think with it, right, there's not a lot of reason to be terribly trepidatious about how the exam is going to go. So build students up.
Great. How about you, Ellen?
Well, I would say 2 things. I would say to them, you've got this, because I agree the alignment with what material we cover is great. However, I would say to them, you know the material, but you need to prepare for it, right? You need to do the practice multiple choice because those critical reading skills are so important, and a difference in a word can make the difference between you getting the question right or wrong. And so I really think that the 50 hours is probably a fair amount. So I would foresee students maybe preparing over a summer where they really had time, and then taking it in September before their school workload got really busy. But yeah, I think that the test prep is essential for them.
Great. Emma,
I
how
would
about
like
you?
to say that I haven't taken the test yet. Again, Alex has convinced me to take it in January, even though I told her I suck at tests. How I passed all 4 parts of the CPA exam the first time, I will never know. I suck at tests. But so I am preparing to take it in January. So since I'm teaching it in my MBA class, we teach in modules. So every time we finish a module, my students have an FMAA quiz. And they, take that quiz. And so I say, see, you did it. So if you can do this, you can do this whole exam. So they're doing bite-sized pieces because each study unit is tied to a module in my class. And I make the quizzes reasonably rigorous. And I say, you did this. And so you can do the exam. And then I take my own quizzes and I'm like, okay, I did this. I can do the exam. And so I kind of incorporate it into the class to get them used to that process. The other thing that I do in my MBA class is I also say, okay, here's how you use this knowledge. So I tie it into the cases because it is an MBA class. It's very case study focused. So I'm very case based. So I said, this is how you use this knowledge in this case. And so that lets them know why knowing this information. Because here's the thing, I don't like taking tests just to take a test. You can miss me with that. I need you to understand why you needed that knowledge and how you will use it to add value to your organization. And so when they see that importance, then they can better understand why that certification is important.
Great. Dawn, is there anything you want to add before I let Alex talk a little bit about GLIME?
Not really. I will say that I thought the GLIME materials were great. So I'm very thankful for that, Alex. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add.
Great. All right, well, I'm going to move on so Alex has enough time. This is Alex Graham, who is the Senior Account Manager and IMA Chapter Coordinator. So Alex, I will let you start talking.
Thank you so much, guys. I really enjoyed the panel. Some of you I've had relationships with for a long time. Some of you I've never met. So it was really nice to hear the echoes and the support and everyone kind of on the same page when you guys were discussing. So thank you so much for participating. As mentioned throughout the panel discussion, you guys got mention of the courses that this would work in. So I don't think I want to spend so much time on this because you guys are the experts. You guys are the professors. You know what topics you're already teaching. You know where your holes are. I would rather, I think, spend a little bit more of my time on how GLIME can help you with that. We actually already got a comment in the chat. So if anyone is interested in studying with GLIME on their own or using in class, we have the option for both. If you could go on to the next slide, that would be awesome. So currently GLIME is called, or the GLIME FMAA materials are called the Mega Test Bank. And that is simply because it's still a newer product for us, right? The new exam just started this year. We developed this, it's been about a year now since we've had our FMA materials out, and we're constantly building on that. So for right now, we have a digital book. We have a bank of multiple choice questions. We're up over 1,000, and we're constantly building and adding to those every single day. We have a cross-reference to the major text. So if you guys are using your principles or your intermediate, whether it be financial or managerial, and I know you know where the topics are located, but if you just want some reinforcement to say, well, where is this topic covered in my materials and where does it relate to GLIME? That is something new that has just been completed that would be available for the spring. And then we actually have some plans to add some videos to the FMAA materials. So that's going to be exciting and just kind of drive it all home for all different types of learners, right? Because as important as it is to practice those multiple choice questions, some people just learn better with other types of media. So I think it's important to cater to all different types of learners. It is exam emulating, just like GLIME for CMA, CPA, CIA, and EA. What you see on the screen is the look and feel of that Prometric Testing Center screen. Just like this exam can kind of help, calm those anxieties for another further exam, practicing in GLIME in that exam emulating environment can also cut back on that anxiety. So when you get there on testing day, you're worried about the content. And again, what is the question actually asking? Ellen said it so great. One word can really change the difference between getting that question right and getting it wrong. So we want you to focus there. You can always come to expect expertly authored books from GLIME. So we have tons of faculty on staff, many of whom currently teach in the field, all of whom are experts in their respective roles. So no worries there. Whenever you're ready, we'll go on to the next slide. So how can we help? So in addition to studying on your own, we have the GLIME professor-led platform. And I think you heard it mentioned from Emma, and I think Amy might have mentioned it as well. But this is essentially the GLIME learning management system. It works really well with major learning management systems like Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle. It does connect to your grade book, but you still have your students go into GLIME and practicing GLIME. And that's important because that's where you get that exam emulating software. So once they're done and they complete all their assignments, you can hook that back up to your learning management system. There is some pre-generated coursework. We know as faculty, your time is important. We want to take that effort away from you. and still allow you to provide great practice and good homework assignments to your students. So we've got just a couple of clicks of the button will generate that homework for you. The academic platform itself allows you to not only give assignments, track grades, track homework, but you can evaluate students as a group. Where is your entire class struggling? I heard somebody earlier mention, giving maybe a diagnostic quiz at the beginning of a cohort, the beginning of a class, and maybe one at the end. This tool absolutely could be used for something like that. Really, the sky's the limit as far as how creative you are with the tool at hand that Gleim provides. We are very affordable for self-studiers, so it's $199 for the entire Gleim package, but in an academic setting, more importantly, Dr. Gleim was a professor first and foremost, and we want to make it more affordable for the students. So we dropped that price down to $70 realistically, so you guys can still do things like have your main text and use it as a supplement. Another great thing that we do here at Gleim is we partner with your bookstore. So many institutions are moving on to first day ready programs, having all of your materials ahead of time and built into the cost or the fee for the classes. And we absolutely could help with that as well. So if that's a concern, it is no longer a concern for you. You do get an assigned academic or professor relations coordinator. Like I myself have worked with Ellen before. Emma is within mine. I work with Amy a lot for the CMA, but like Joshua, he's actually with one of my colleagues. We're all great. We've all been here. I've actually been here the least amount of time. I've been here for 10 years. So we are well integrated into the accounting faculty, the program, and we know what you guys need and how to take care of you, so no worries there. And if we do have a moment, I would like to share my screen. Is that okay, Mary?
Yep.
And I'd like to actually show you the platform just quickly. All right, so as we get into our personal classroom here at Gleim, we've got a couple of different components. Remember, I mentioned that test bank. So if you were a self-studier like the professors here, they came and they wanted to learn for themselves, you would hop into our mega test bank. That is our digital book and our online bank of questions. So I'm going to go ahead and go into there and show you. This is very simple. You've got 3 options here for your test bank. You've got your practice exam, study session, and performance stats. Practice exam is exactly like what it would sound like. You set up an exam for yourself, whether that be 10, 20, 30 questions. You don't get any feedback until you've answered all questions that you've set up. And it emulates that exam. So the look and feel, where's your calculator? How do you strike out the questions? All that is the same. For those of you that don't have a lot of time, or if you just like that instant gratification, I have a lot of people that's just how they study best. That's what you have the study session for. So you don't get that exam emulation out of it, but immediately as soon as you answer a question, it'll tell you why you're right or why you're wrong. You're welcome to click around, see where did the question come from. We immediately link you back to your book if it is something that you're struggling with, to tell you exactly where to go practice. And then the performance stats, this is just like kind of a graph of a visual data analysis of how you're performing. So that's what you would use as a self-studier. But let's talk a little bit about the professor-led platform, because I have a feeling a few of you at least might want to kind of take this into your classroom. So in that case, we have that professor-led course. Notice I've got some other classes in here. So if this is a tool that you could see yourself using for the FMAA and you have a need for CPA, CMA, one of the other exams that we deal with, we can make it to that. The only thing that's different is the content. So as we jump in here, I don't have any quizzes created, and I want to go through just really quickly some of the features that you can do in creating a custom assignment. So you've got the ability to search different question types. Once you pool those questions, for example, I'll just go ahead and pull a couple of them. Then you actually have the ability to pick those questions. I know that Emma mentioned she makes her quizzes rigorous. So I know that she's going through and paying attention to what are they practicing in their homework? Where are they struggling? Where can I point them? So you have that ability in here to maybe even search a keyword or find questions that you know will challenge them before you actually pick that question. On the other end of the spectrum, I don't like to be biased. So sometimes we'll say, hey, system, pick for me. That's going to randomly select and make sure that you remove that bias from your selection. Moving on, you guys are pro at online teaching in the last 4 or 5 years through COVID. I think it's just changed so much. I'm sure you guys are great with this, but I wanted to show you do have a couple of different options. You could do online, you can do printed, and you can even do a pooled quiz. So you could do like a large pool of 100 where each student might 25 out of 100, get you some variation. You've also got time to start, time to finish, how long do they have? Do you want to randomize it? All that good stuff that kind of just protects the integrity of your quiz and exams online. And then you can also give things like more quiz attempts. You can select when you want to show them the answer explanations, how you want to display those answer explanations to them, and all that good stuff. So that was just quickly, how you can kind of create custom assignments. Again, I did mention that you have the grade book in here. So I am the fake student in this group. I have not yet taken my quiz that I didn't create. But if you did, you'd see my name in here. You'd see how I performed as an individual student, but then the class as a greater whole. So we quickly tag it for you. We kind of tag it green, yellow, red to help guide you in the fastest and best way to identify where your class is struggling as well. And then just very quickly, I did mention that LTI connection. So if you guys do want to connect to Canvas, Blackboard, or Moodle, that's how you do it right here in our system. So I am going to make sure you guys have my contact information up on the board behind me. I know it was kind of small the whole time, but I've got my email. It's professor.relations@glime.com, and that's actually my whole team. I've put it into the chat, but if there's any question, please reach out to Mary. I'm sure she could get you over to us, or just reach out to Glime in general, and we will get connected and help you out. And thank you so much, guys.
All right, so I think I'm sharing my screen again, correct? Maybe
Not yet.
Share.
Perfect.
So this should also have the contact information there as well as a QR code. I wanted to now open it up to the questions that we have from the audience. And please, while we still have time, feel free to add some extra question in. So I'm going through the questions, and so prerequisites, there are no prerequisites for taking the FMAA. And again, this is a certification. So once your students sit and pass this exam, they can say John Smith, comma, FMAA next to their name. So this is a certification. I think that is really cool for your students, and the fact that they can do it while they're a student. They don't have to be an IMA member. They just have to sit and pass and study for this exam. And Tabitha, please let me know if there's any questions that I don't answer. Someone asked a question about the community college and getting affiliated working with IMA. Email me. So that's how you get affiliated with working with IMA. We want you to nominate students to take the FMAA certification. You have at least 3 nominations that you can use for this academic year, and we want you to do that. But the first thing you need to do is start by contacting me. There's nothing really that we have to establish. It's just me knowing you as a professor. I will give you the link, or you can go to our website, imanet.org, and look for student scholarships, and the form hyperlink will be available there. Also, what is the passing grade for the exam? So it is, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, or Alex, 200 out of 300, and it is a scaled scoring exam. Let's see. Is there a discount for enrollment fees or registration fees? Not at this time. So we worked really hard at IMA to make sure that this was an attainable exam. I know $300 even as a student is a lot of money. But I think Ellen mentioned talking to her chair about maybe sponsoring some students to go through it. It really does start with you, the instructors. I can't tell you how many times I have met someone that is a CMA as a young adult or young professional. My first question to them is, how did you find out about the CMA? 9 out of 10 times, my professor told me about it. My professor encouraged me to sit for the certification. I didn't hear about it. It was Professor XYZ who said, hey, you're working, this is where you want to take your career. You need to sit for the CMA. So what we're hoping, and this is why we did the cohort in September, is we want to get you, the professors, the faculty, to learn about this certification so you can start encouraging the students to sit for it. I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but really you are the ones that inspire your students to do this. So this is why we're having these Faculty Fridays. Let's see. I think that one was covered. Are there any other questions?
Mary, there was one more.
Okay, what is it?
If the students get FMAA scholarships, what is the time period they have to take the exam?
So when you submit a student for a scholarship, the ideal plan is for the student to sit for the FMAA within 12 months of receiving that scholarship. So we don't want you to nominate students and then they're waiting 2 years, 3 years. Like, that's not the idea behind A, the scholarship, or B, helping them progress through their both academic career and their professional career. We want them to get it. We want them to start putting those letters by their name. So we're telling them 12 months. Help me out with other questions that come in.
Okay, there is another one, Mary. So 200 out of 300, where did those numbers come from? I would guess 75% or 60 out of 80 is passing.
I'm not enough. Amy, would you maybe want to help with that? I'm honestly not sure where the numbers, so.
It's also scaled because of the 80, some questions, and how different students are, not everybody's getting the same 80 questions. So there's some factors of equivalency. I don't know is the best way to explain it. They just want to make sure that it's consistent, but yet again, everybody gets a different 80 questions. So some questions, they'll gather data. Alex might have more about that, but it's scaled because of the equivalency.
And then
And
usually the percentage weighs different for different topics. So I think that also plays into it as well, where some questions might be worth over, more percent on your exam.
And Pat, did you want to chime in if you want to unmute yourself?
Yes. So my name is Go Adashot. I just wanted to introduce myself. I just recently joined Mary's little group of academic relation. I have not, this is the first time I actually have seen Mary in person, on WebEx. But I was sitting on the border region, so I can help with this a little bit of this. So, the exam things, we call it psychometric. So, we have the cut score where I think to the point that Amy is saying is some of the questions are not counted, right? There's some what we call testing questions that we put in the bank, and then some of the topics are not weighted the same. So there's no actual percentage that you can figure it out. There's no way that you can do that because everyone gets different questions on the test. So once all the test takers are taking the test, then there's a work in the background that I cannot explain either. But the obviously the correct numbers of correct answers would definitely be the primary determinations, but it's not count 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or things like that. Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you so much for helping to explain that. That's one of those ones that I rely on the experts for that. I saw a question that came in that says, with the scholarship, you can choose CMA or FMAA. So does that mean if they get a scholarship and choose FMAA as a sophomore, they can also be nominated for a CMA scholarship later? In theory, yes. And I would love that. So if you have a freshman or sophomore that you've identified and you think, ooh, I really almost want to mentor this student and I want them committed to accounting and finance, I want them to take this exam, nominate them for the FMAA scholarship. They have 12 months to take it. Maybe by the time you see that student again, they are a junior or a senior. They have that confidence. They've been through an internship. Then you can nominate them for the CMA scholarship. I will put a little asterisk. The scholarship program, we're always reevaluating it, but that is right now in theory what I would love to see happen. FMAA, when do you get the exam results? So after a testing window, so after January, after May, after September, it's about 6 weeks. So I think for everyone, you took your exam in September and you received your scores last week. So that was about 5 to 6 weeks, correct? Great. Any other questions? Great. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know it is a Friday. Thank you for attending our Faculty Friday webinar, and especially thank you to Gleim for sponsoring it. Gleim FMAA Review has everything your students need to pass the FMAA exam and start their career strong. Over the last 50 years, Gleim has helped millions of accountants pass their CPA, CMA, CIAEA, and now the FMAA. And their review materials are trusted by thousands of professors. And I would also love to thank our panelists for taking the time to talk about their experiences. Very insightful. And I hope that all of you, again, encourage your students to sit for the FMAA. If you have questions about how to maybe start incorporating it into your curriculum, talk to myself or Alex. We would also love to see colleges and institutions start to incorporate this certification as part of their accounting and finance for their students. So that's the end goal for this, that we eventually get all the students taking this. It's going to help the pipeline, and it's what the market really needs. So again, thank you very much for coming, and I hope to speak with you all soon, and enjoy the rest of your day.